So good morning, everyone. I think it's a few minutes after 10 and we'll get started so that we have a chance to fit all the great information that folks have prepared for us. Just a few things. We want to again welcome you to our Catskill Regional Ag Conference. This is something that we've done every year for the last 19 or 20 years. And again, this year we are having a virtual conference, which has allowed us to spread our workshops over a few days. So we've been, since Monday night, we've been doing a lot of Zooms, talking to a lot of you on a lot of different things. So we do want to thank the Watershed Ag Council for their generous support of our education events here. And it allows us to get a lot of good information to our watershed farmers. And as we go to this virtual kind of conference, lets us invite folks from all over to join us at the same time. So just a couple of housekeeping things. Please keep your microphone muted. We ask you to keep your camera turned off, and that helps preserve bandwidth for everyone. If you have questions, please add them to the chat. And if there's something that's immediately should be addressed, we'll break in to the speakers and have them address it. Otherwise, we'll hold them to the end. Also, we have captions available in this webinar. If you go to the bottom of your screen, you'll see a live transcript button, and you can turn them on if they're helpful for you, or you can turn them off if they're distracting. So again, welcome. We're glad you're here. And Brian Sheridan, I guess I will let you introduce the rest of the team and take it from here. Thanks.
Okay, thanks, Dale. I'll share my screen here. All right, my screen share working, Dale?
Yes, looks good.
Okay, very good. So yeah, thanks for joining this session today, everybody. My name is Brian Sheridan. I'm the County Executive Director for USDA's Farm Service Agency. I cover Shenango, Delaware, and Sullivan counties. Today, I'm going to talk with you all about USDA's farm programs that we offer. And then later in the presentation, Aaron Masters is the Farm Service Agency Loan Officer that's going to talk with you about our lending programs that are available. And then later in the presentation, Tony Caprero from the Natural Resources Conservation Service will talk to you about the programs that they can offer as well. All right, so to get started, who we are and what we do. So we're the Farm Service Agency, and we're part of the United States Department of Agriculture. And we're tasked with implementing ag policy that's driven down from the Farm Bill. As part of that, we administer credit and loan programs, and we manage conservation, disaster, and price support programs for producers. FSA is really broken up into two divisions. We have our Farm Programs Division, which I'll be talking about today. And then we have our Farm Loan Programs Division, which, like I said, I'll hand it over to Aaron Masters here shortly, and he'll talk with you all about FSA's lending programs that we have. So today, my goal is to just do a brief overview of FSA's programs that we have to offer. We could spend all day talking about programs, but I'm going to try to do a quick summary in about 10 or 15 minutes, to paint the big picture of the programs that we have to offer. So the first program I want to touch base on is our dairy margin coverage program. This is an insurance-based program for dairy producers that allows them to insure their income over feed costs, or their actual dairy margin. Payments for this program are triggered when the actual dairy margin falls below a certain selected threshold that dairy operation chooses. Margin coverage is available anywhere from $4 coverage all the way up to $9.50 coverage. And there are premiums that the producers pay on a per hundredweight basis using their production history to enter into the program. Right now, we are in the middle of our 2022 calendar year sign up. It was a little bit delayed. We typically have our program sign up completed by the end of the year ahead of our coverage year, but we are still implementing 2022 sign up, and our deadline for that is February 18th. So I encourage any dairy producers out there that haven't taken a look at the dairy margin coverage program or haven't contacted our office yet to please give us a call so that we can go over your options within that program. The next program I want to touch on is our farm storage facility loan program. This program offers low interest financing to build and upgrade portable and permanent storage facilities and certain handling equipment on operations. This loan is available to all producers, even if they're able to obtain financing elsewhere. We use Commodity Credit Corporation funding for this, so producers of eligible ag commodities can apply for this loan. There is a $500,000 loan maximum for this program, and there are some certain down payment requirements that producers are required to meet. So any loans that are over $50,000, producers need to out-of-pocket 15%. And any loans that are under $50,000, producers out-of-pocket 5% for this program. And the interest rates for the program are really favorable. Right now, we have a 3-year loan term that's at 0.75% fixed, a 5-year loan term at 1.125% fixed, and a 7-year loan term at 1.5% fixed. So as you can see, the interest rates are really great there. I wanted to touch base quickly on just some of the uses of these loan funds under the facility loan program. Traditionally, this has been a program that's been around for years and years, and it was really only used for things like grain bins, corn cribs, and silos. Over the years, the program has evolved so that we're able to provide financing for all different types of ag operations and all different types of commodities. So we're financing things now like hauling trucks, refrigerated trucks, refrigeration and freezer units. We can finance hay storage for things like pole barns, all types of cold storage options for our fruit and vegetable producers. We are still financing grain bins and corn cribs and silos as well, and any drying equipment that is attached to those. More recently, we've added hops and hemp as eligible commodities, so we can finance the storage and storage for those and drying equipment related to those commodities. We have added skid steers and payloaders as eligible handling expenses for these loans. And we've moved into financing things in milk houses and equipment within those milk houses, including bulk tanks. And we're also now working with maple operations to finance things like sap tanks. So you can see this program, it really has a lot of opportunity out there. So I encourage anybody that's looking for storage and handling on their operation to reach out to your local FSA office to talk a little bit more about this program specifically. Next, I want to cover our non-insured crop disaster assistance program. This is a program that provides financial assistance to producers of non-insurable crops to help protect them against damaging weather conditions that might cause things like low yields, crop losses, and even prevented planting. To be eligible for this program, the producer has to be commercially marketing an ag commodity where they cannot receive a commercial crop insurance policy on it. So the risk management agency all over the country writes crop insurance policies, but there are certain crops that they don't insure. A lot of times those end up being fruit and vegetable crops. And so producers of those non-insurable commodities can come to the FSA office and we can write a policy specifically for those to help cover them in loss events. We have some eligible causes of loss specifically for this program that relate back to damaging weather, things like drought, freeze, hail, excessive moisture, excessive wind. And then of course, if there's any conditions that relate to that damaging weather, like excessive heat that might cause plant disease or insect infestation in an operation. So really great program there, a lot of opportunity. Encourage people to reach out to their local office to talk more about that. We have a whole suite of programs, of disaster programs for us to be able to provide assistance to producers after natural disasters. A lot of programs here. I'm just going to talk briefly about those. We have our livestock indemnity program, which helps compensate producers for livestock deaths due to extreme weather events. We have our livestock forage program, which helps cover grazing losses from a really severe drought condition. We have the emergency livestock assistance program. That program does a couple things. One of the things is that it provides assistance to honeybee producers that suffer losses due to adverse weather. And then for other operations, it can assist with grazing and feed losses due to adverse weather conditions. And then finally, we have our emergency conservation program. This is a program that provides funding to rehabilitate farmland that's been damaged by severe weather. Next, I want to touch briefly again on our conservation reserve program. This is a program that's widely used in Delaware County and throughout central New York. CRP is a voluntary program where we, as the federal government, will contract with farmers and landowners to place environmentally sensitive land into a resource conserving practice. These are 10 to 15-year contracts with the landowner that are not attached to the deed. And FSA provides those participants with rental payments in exchange for installing those resource conserving practices. And additionally, the USDA will provide cost share assistance for implementing the practice itself. Now, there are additional monetary incentives available through CRP that really depend on what watershed someone's property is in. And that's something that we work on through the process of enrollment in the Conservation Reserve Program. This is a program that really takes a lot of partnership and collaboration locally to get the program on the ground. So I would just like to say that, with this program, there's a lot of people that help us with implementing. We partner with the local Natural Resources Conservation Service office, the Soil and Water Conservation District, the Watershed Agricultural Council, and Cornell Cooperative Extension. Those are all our partners in getting this program accomplished. I'll touch briefly on some of the price support programs that we offer. We have the ag risk coverage and price loss coverage programs. These programs are for our producers of row crops, our corn, soybeans, wheat, oats, crops like that. These are the safety net programs that the FSA office offers for those producers. So this program will provide financial assistance to producers of those commodities when the actual revenue for that covered commodity falls below a certain calculated threshold. Another great price support program that we have is the Marketing Assistance Loan Program. It's a program that's really not widely used in our area, but the way this program works is it provides interim financing at harvest time to help producers meet cash flow needs without them having to sell those commodities when market prices are typically low at harvest time. The way this program works is the FSA office will use the producer's stored commodity that they have stored on their farm or in a warehouse as loan collateral. And we'll write a 12-month loan at a very low interest rate to that producer. And that loan is paid back to our office over the course of 12 months as that ag commodity is marketed or fed out to livestock on that person's operation. Organic programs. So wanted to talk a little bit about the organic programs that we offer. So first and foremost, all of our FSA programs can be utilized by organic producers. So there's no differentiation there. All of our programs can be accessed by our organic producers. But we specifically have the organic certification cost share program for those organic producers. And what this program does is it reimburses those producers for part of their certification costs that they have on an annual basis. Producers and handlers can be reimbursed up to 50% of their certification costs each year. There is a maximum of $500 per scope. And those scopes there are crops, livestock, wild crops, and handling. We have a brand new program for organic producers that we're working on right now. Just launched a few weeks ago. It's called the Organic and Transitional Education and Certification Program. So this is a program that will reimburse organic and transitional operations for certain expenses and fees that they have. So this program can be coupled together with the program that I talked about on the last slide, and it can provide an additional 25% reimbursement for certification.
Looks like we lost Brian. Must be his internet has failed us somehow. So maybe Aaron, why don't you pick up and go ahead, and we'll get back to Brian when he can get back online with us.
Okay, that sounds good. Let's see. Can you see it okay?
Okay, perfect.
Awesome, wonderful.
You're all set.
So thanks so much. All right, well, good morning, everybody. It's great to be with you all today. I appreciate the opportunity that I have to be able to talk to you guys briefly about the farm loan programs that FSA has to offer. Brian did as Brian was saying, my name's Aaron Masters. I'm from the Farm Service Agency office located in Cortland, New York. We cover 9 counties in and around central New York, from Lake Ontario down to the Pennsylvania border, and we cover Delaware County as well. We have a diverse portfolio that includes dairy, livestock, vegetable operations, maple operations, so wide variety, and we see a lot of different things. I've been with the agency for about 6 years now as a farm loan officer. And so today I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the various programs that we have to offer. And Brian already talked about what the Farm Service Agency is, but basically we provide financial assistance to farmers and producers during times of economic downturns or natural disasters. And as Brian said, there's 2 sides to the Farm Service Agency. Brian talked about the farm programs, and I'll talk a little bit about the farm loan programs that we have to offer. So FSA farm loan program, we used to be considered the lender of last resort. We're trying to rebrand and consider ourselves the lender of first opportunity. Our programs are designed to help farmers start, purchase, or expand their farming operation if they can't get the credit elsewhere to do so. We have a variety of loan programs that are available depending on your current situation and what you need the loan for. And there's loan officers that are available to various offices that cover your county that can answer your questions and can help you with the loan application process. We oftentimes encourage folks to reach out to New York FarmNet or to Cornell Cooperative Extension, especially if they're looking at putting together like a business plan or projection cash flow to help kind of do some analysis and looking through that. But we are also able to help assist in that process. And FSA Farm Loans has targeted funding. So that's available to beginning farmers and to underserved groups such as minority and women farmers. Basically what that means is that there's a separate pot of money that's available to folks that meet these definitions, so that if in the event that funding runs out in other areas, typically there's funding that's still available for folks that meet those definitions. Before we dive into the specific loan programs that are out there, I wanted to go over some of the general eligibility requirements real quick. You can see a bunch of them listed on there, but I just wanted to touch on 3 of them. So you have to be unable to get credit elsewhere. You don't have to be denied by another lender before you come and apply to us. You can apply to us at any time. Always happy to take an application. But when we look at your application and look at your financials that provided with the application, if it looks like you might meet the underwriting criteria of a commercial lender, we would require you to have that conversation with them at least. We also require that you have acceptable credit history. We'll pull a credit report, but we don't look at credit score. We just look to see that you made your payments timely with other creditors. If there's an issue within the last 36 months that seems to be temporary in nature due to circumstances beyond your control, like a medical bill that's went to collection, we might be able to look past that and still move forward with the application. And then the third one I wanted to touch on is that you have, for some of our loan programs, you have to have a certain amount of farm managerial experience or have operated and managed a farm for a certain number of years, but we'll get into that in a minute. So that's a quick overview of some of our general eligibility requirements. So getting into the specific programs that we have to offer. So FSA is a farm operating loan. It's like a short-term loan that you typically use to purchase things such as machinery equipment, livestock. You can make minor repairs to real estate or to buildings on real estate, to pay for annual operating expenses. The maximum loan amount is $400,000 on those loans with a repayment term of 1 to 7 years. The current interest rate on those is 2.125%. And for that type of loan program, you have to have participated in farming for at least a year, where you were more than just a laborer on a farm, you made the actual farm production and financial management decisions. For our farm ownership loan program or our long-term real estate loan program, those loan funds can be used to purchase a farm, to expand your operation, or to begin farming an operation, and to make improvements or to build buildings on an existing farm. The loan amount, the maximum loan amount on that is $600,000. We can do a term up to 40 years, which is quite a bit longer than a typical commercial lender will offer. So that kind of helps provide some help with the cash flow and ease up on the cash flow. The interest rate on that currently is 3%, and all of our interest rates are fixed for the life of the loan. For that type of a loan program, you have to have participated in a farming operation for at least 3 years. Typically, we use Schedule F to evidence that, but we don't necessarily have to. As long as you've been the manager of a farm and made the management decisions for at least 3 years on a farm out of the last 10 years, you could be eligible for that type of a loan program. And I won't get into it too much, but we also have some incentives for folks to get joint financing with other lenders. So we often encourage financing with other lenders to preserve loan funds for other folks to use, and provide some favorable interest rates that are fixed for the life of the loan. I won't get into it now due to time, but if anybody has any questions, they can feel free to reach out to me or to their local FSA office about that. And just real quick, a beginning farmer in the eyes of the FSA farm loan programs is anyone that has not operated a farm for more than 10 years. If you're an entity applicant, all members must be eligible and meet the definition of beginning farmers. And the one I really wanted to talk about today was our microloan program. So basically, the microloan program, the use of the loan funds is exactly the same as what I talked about earlier for our regular direct loan programs. But the microloan program, the maximum loan amount is $50,000 or less. So that's the max that you can have out for either an operating loan or a farm ownership loan. The terms and the rates are the same, but it's a simplified loan application process. There's less paperwork, it's more streamlined, there's less verification requirements, there's reduced security requirements. So we'll only take the item that you're looking to purchase as collateral, which is kind of nice. And for all of our loan programs, it's 100% financing for most of them, no down payment required necessarily. And for a micro operating loan program, we can replace the 1 year of farm managerial experience requirement with a mentor. So if somebody wants to get a mentor, they can use that to help them get started and get up and going. The microloan program has been great for folks that are looking to get started in farming and to begin farming and get up and going. There's no minimum loan amount that you have to take out. And it's also been great for folks that are looking to maybe transition the farm to the next generation and that maybe junior partners or the next generation can buy some equity into the operation. So again, microloan program is very popular, and we highly recommend and folks to utilize it. Real quick, youth operating loan program. It's basically a $5,000 loan, maximum loan amount. Again, no minimum on that we make to folks that are between the age of 10 to 21 years of age. For youth that are in an FFA or 4-H or a similar organization, to purchase income producing assets such as machinery, equipment, or livestock. We can't use the loan funds to purchase real estate, but it gives youth an opportunity to learn financial responsibility, to encourage their interest in farming, and hopefully they'll stay one way or another into the in ag, and to continue on some kind of farming in some way. So real quick, what's needed to apply for an FSA direct loan? The best advice I give folks is to contact the FSA office directly, your local FSA office, and they can get you to a farm loan team. And the farm loan officer or farm loan manager can talk to you about what the different application process is and how to go about that. And they can send you a direct loan application right from their office, and kind of walk you through the process on how it looks and works. And real quick, FSA is meant to be a temporary source of credit and meant to be, our goal is to graduate folks onto commercial credit, and to help you reach that goal of being able to graduate to that and to be successful in your operation. And if you are planning on doing any kind of a project that involves ground disturbance below the plow lines, like below 2 feet of the ground, we encourage you to contact the FSA office and ask them, reach out to them so that they can complete the appropriate environmental review. That has to be done before we can approve any kind of loan, and that environmental review can be completed before you even apply for an FSA loan. So there's some information up there about additional resources. You can also sign up for our newsletter and receive updates and information from from FSA. And there's also my contact information. And so I appreciate you guys' time and listening, but I will turn it over now to Tony.
Oh, Aaron, first, we have 2 short questions.
Yeah.
One on the microloans. What is the interest rate on microloans?
So the rates for the microloans are the same as the regular loans, and currently for an operating loan, that is going to be 2.125%, and for a farm ownership microloan, that'll be 3% fixed for the life of the term loan. And
are there separate pots or whatever for underserved or minority farmers?
Yes. Yep. They're so for microloans, there's different ways that we code and fund those, and they have separate pot of monies set aside for those types of loans for those individuals.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, guys.
And if others have questions, keep putting them in the chat. But meanwhile, I guess, Aaron, if you stop sharing, we'll have Tony take off on his presentation. And, we'll be, we do have Brian back, and we can have him answer questions or fill in any important things that he missed after Tony's done. So Tony, why don't you go ahead?
Sounds good. Thank you. Okay. Can you see my screen okay?
We don't see your slideshow yet. We just see your PowerPoint file.
How about now?
There you go. Perfect.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Again, thank you very much for inviting me today to speak. I appreciate it. My name is Tony Capero. I'm the district conservationist for the USDA Natural Resources Conservation Service. My home office is in Cooperstown, but I also cover, besides Catskill County, I cover Delaware County and Sullivan County as well. I've been with the NRCS for 18 years this year. Prior to that, I was with the Catskill County Soil and Water Conservation District. So I'll get started. Who are we? We're the Natural Resources Conservation Service. We were originally established by Congress back in the Dust Bowl days as a soil conservation service. We've now expanded into the NRCS and are working with local landowners, producers on environmental challenges. Our mission is to deliver conservation solutions so ag producers can protect natural resources and feed a growing world. Our vision along with that is for clean and abundant water, healthy soils, resilient landscapes, and thriving agricultural communities through voluntary conservation. The NRCS is not a regulatory agency. Everything we do is all voluntary, working with landowners who come to us, or we go to them, talk to them about the programs, and then they decide on their own whether or not to work with us. Again, who we are, we're a federal agency under the Department of Agriculture. The FSA is one of our sister agencies, but we also work with rural development. We work very closely with all of our conservation districts, cooperative extension, land trust, specifically for Delaware County. We work with the Watershed Ag Council. We also work with technical service providers, which are private companies, private personnel who are certified under the USDA NRCS guidance to do work for us where we don't have the ability and are short staffed. We also work with volunteer conservation groups, work with local, could be high schools, could be middle schools. We do a lot of internships with local colleges just to get students aware of who we are and get their minds thinking of what they want to do when they go to college. What we do, we provide technical assistance to private landowners. We establish and maintain technical standards for conservation practices for ourselves and cooperating agencies, and we provide financial assistance for the implementation of conservation practices. Eligibility for any landowner, we take applications throughout the year. No matter when, we can always take an application. We only submit for funding those applications when a batching period is announced. Currently, we're taking applications for our 2023 application round. 2022 application round ended the end of October of 2021. All prospective applicants must have control of the land through a deed or a long-term lease for the life of the contract. They must comply with adjusted gross income limitations, and they also must be in compliance with the highly erodible and wetland provision, Food Security Act of 1985. Anybody, again, is available to apply. Some groups are due increased payment rates and may receive up to a 50% advance payment. Socially disadvantaged, beginning and limited resource farmers, Indian tribes, and veterans may be eligible for these incentives. It's a self-certification that the applicant checks on the application when they submit it. I'm going to do a quick programs overview. These are 5 programs that we deal with mainly here in New York. We have our Agricultural Management Assistance Program. Our main environmental program is our Environmental Qualities Incentives Program. We also have the Conservation Stewardship Program, our Agricultural Conservation Easement Program, and then Emergency Watershed Protection Program. I'm going to touch base on each of these, and then I have some pictures, just some examples that I'll go through on each. Our Ag Management Assistance Program is only available currently in our urban ag specific areas. You can see any of the red areas on the map are the urban ag clusters, and then the yellow area is a 2-mile buffer around each. So within those locations, landowners can apply for AMA. There are a certain list of conservation practices that are eligible, which is a reduced list from our main ag program, EQIP. This is our main agricultural program, Environmental Qualities Incentives Program. We provide cost share assistance to ag producers or private landowners for following activities to address resource concerns. When we make our first field visit, we always make sure that there's a resource concern out there before we work with the landowner on an application. Here are a couple of focus areas that we deal with. Conservation activity plans, which are basically literally a plan that is written for the producer, for their land, that will come up with practices, best management practices to help address the resource concerns that are found. I'm sorry for the dogs barking. Besides that, we've got grazing. We deal with grazing and pasture land. We deal with farmstead practices, soil management, cropland, forestry, organic. We deal with everything, basically, just come down to it. Here's just some quick pictures I'm going to go through that we've dealt with under our EQIP program. Here's a farmstead practice that we dealt with manure. Here's a couple before pictures. And then here's a couple after pictures where we installed a heavy use area with a roof over top of it, with an access road around it to help address the manure that eventually was draining right into a stream. Here's a couple of pictures of access roads that we do. Manure storage is always a big one. There are definitely different types of manure storages. There's a concrete dry stack. There's the slurry tanks. And then there's also the concrete in-ground structures. We deal with fencing for grazing projects. Stream crossings, when Brian was talking about the Conservation Reserve Program, we can install stream crossings if eligible. We also do stream crossings under EQIP to help keep the animals out of the waterways. Seasonal high tunnels is a big one. Landowners can extend their growing season, some right through the winter. We've installed a lot of these over the last 10 years. Landowners and producers, it's a great benefit to them that they can extend their growing season and help keep our food local. It's been great. Forestry practices, we deal with forest trails and landings, timber stand improvement, all to create a better, healthier forest for the landowner producer. On-farm energy, we are starting to dive into what we have been, but more and more maple related. So as you can see here on the left picture is an RO system that was installed. The right picture is a new pan and arch, an evaporator that was installed for a landowner. Again, anybody who is interested in any of these programs should get a plan first. The plan will help show what's needed to help address resource concern. Stream bank and shoreline protections. Here's a couple before pictures of a stream bank that was severely eroded, and then what it looked like after. We did a big tree planting to help stabilize the bank after we installed the rock. Conservation Stewardship Program. What this program does, it's a 5-year contract with producers to help maintain and improve their existing conservation system. What we try to do with CSP is work with landowners to install an EQIP contract first to address the resource concerns. Then we take them on to CSP where it improves their existing system. So they've already met one threshold with EQIP. Now we're trying to get them to the next higher threshold with CSP. Again, they're 5-year contracts. They provide 2 types of payments, an annual payment for maintaining an existing conservation threshold, and payments for installing new conservation activities and practices. Producers may be eligible to renew their 5-year contract for a second 5-year contract if the first contract is fully successful. Here's some quick pictures of just some cover crops that have been installed through Conservation Stewardship Program. The ones on the left are single species cover crops. What the landowner did was enhance it by then installing on the right-hand side multi-species cover crops. So they've taken it to the next level by doing that. Here's a picture of a secondary ag fuel containment where the original structure that the landowner had was just a tank on the side of a barn that was not protected. So what we did is we came in, a new tank was purchased, a double wall tank, and then we installed the remaining safety factors around here. I'm going to talk about our ag conservation easement program. We have 2 easement programs. Our ag land easement to protect long-term viability of the nation's food supply by preventing conversion of productive working lands to non-ag uses. And then we have our wetlands reserve easement. This provides a habitat for fish, wildlife, including threatened and endangered species, improves water quality by filtering sediments and chemicals, reduces flooding. There's great opportunities for educational, scientific, and limited recreational activities. In Catskill County, we have over 80 easements that we monitor yearly. They are great. Landowners love them. I've brought many college classes out to these sites to teach them about ecology, wetland ecology, stream bank ecology. The landowners absolutely love them. Emergency Watershed Protection Program. That's a program that really comes into play after we have major flood or anything we need to recover under. Back in, we all remember Irene and Lee. We had EWP was initiated. I'm sorry. It literally does take an act of Congress to initiate the EWP program. So it's not a program we offer all the time, but what we do is when a flood happens or a disaster happens, we talk to landowners, we take as much information as possible. And then if they do open it up, we can go back to those landowners and talk to them, say, okay, we have this program now available. Do we want to move forward with it? Contracts, applications, and management. Real quick, what landowners need to do first is contact an NRCS office. We then make an initial site visit. If it's eligible, we can submit an application. NRCS then completes the proper tools and assessments through computer work. We work very closely with the landowner throughout the entire process. The landowner drives, we're the passengers, just making it fit our program. After the application is submitted, we have a ranking process we go through and also a cost calculator to help figure out what the applicant know what they're going to receive throughout the contract. Our contracts are not 100%. We go on a 75%. We try our best to reach a 75% cost share mark. This is what an application looks like. Again, we work with the Farm Service Agency for eligibility, but this is basically the quick and dirty of it that a landowner would receive. And that's it for me. Does anybody have any questions?
So
here's my contact information. And I'd be more than happy to share these slides, Dale, if anybody would like them or information, please feel free to give us a call.
Yep, Tony, if you send them to me, we can post them along with the recording that will eventually go up on our webpage.
Sounds good.
We do have one question about lease requirements for practices. Sort of what do you mean by a lease, and when you say length of contract, what do you mean by that?
So length of contract, every contract is either a 1 year up to a 10-year contract, depending on the number of practices that are going to be installed, or how many modifications we have to do throughout the contract to get those practices installed. So for example, if we're working with a landowner on a cover crop contract can be a 1-year contract. We can apply it for fall of 2022. And then by December of 2022, that contract could be done. If we're doing a livestock waste contract where we're doing access roads, manure storage, covered barnyards, those are usually a little bit longer. With any livestock waste contract, we also have to do 3 years of nutrient management, or up to 3 years of nutrient management. So that extends the contract a few years longer. So that's what I mean by length of contract. It's no more than 10.
So something like a high tunnel, what would be the length of a contract for something like that?
Usually 1 year.
Okay.
If they get funded in, let's say this year, if they get funded in March of 2022, I would install it. They have 1 year, they have 12 months to install the practice. So by March of 2023, it should be installed. And then I always put the expiration date of a contract at the end of the year of the last practice is going to be installed. So by the end of 2023, it'll be done. Okay. By a lease, what I mean is if you rent the land from a landowner, if you have a written lease, that we can take that as long as it's for the length of the contract. So again, if it's, if you've got a high tunnel going in, it's a great example. That's a structure that's going to be put in the ground. So the landowner should beware of what's going in. So they should have a written lease that says, we understand that the producer is going to install these practices. The NRCS does have a land control form that we work with the applicant on. We put the practices that we're going to install. The landowner has to sign it as well as the producer must be aware of it.
Great, thank you. Brian, what did we miss when conked out on us? And what would you like to add?
If the internet's ever going to fail, it'll fail during our presentation, right? I'll just wrap up with a couple comments. I know we're getting close to the end of this session here, but a common question is, how does somebody get started with USDA programs, with FSA programs, with NRCS programs? So first thing to do is to contact our office, and we're going to work with you one-on-one to get your operation registered with FSA and with USDA. So Tony's programs that he spoke about utilizes FSA's database and our eligibility forms. So we're a great first stop to get registered with the Department of Agriculture. Registering your operation allows you to apply for FSA and other USDA programs. And then after we determine your eligibility to participate in programs or loans, there will be somebody from our staff that walks you through that application process. Like Aaron mentioned in his presentation, I really encourage everybody to learn more about our programs. Visit farmers.gov or fsa.usda.gov. There's some great tools on there that explain our programs. And there's a find your local office tool on there as well that you can access, and you can find your local contact information for USDA. We have a presence in every county across the entire United States. So use that tool to find your local office and local contact people. And then, like Aaron mentioned in his, I encourage everybody to sign up for USDA's newsletter as well. You'll get monthly updates on all the programs that are coming out and any important updates from USDA. So I apologize that my internet connection disconnected me in the middle of my presentation, but I appreciate the opportunity to talk with everybody today.
Okay, great. Kimberly has a fairly, I think, specific question on her operation and things. And Kimberly, I would encourage you to contact Tony directly. He shared his contact information. You can find, that easily. And, for anyone, I guess I would just want to reiterate that Tony, Brian, Aaron are all very available. They're great partners, and they really are here to serve you. And so don't hesitate to reach out. They can